For those who are unfamiliar, here at Hihu we're interested in seeing how games hold up X years on, as well as some indie games. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because Evoland seems to be in love with old games as well. Hi, I'm Val from Hihu, and I've played Evoland over the weekend and quite enjoyed myself. Evoland is a small indie role-playing game made by Shiro Games in 2013. The main thought behind Evoland is the exploration of the gaming industry's evolution. I feel like Evoland's more of a proof of concept than a full game, but it's still a pretty good concept. The game starts out with your basic black and white graphics, and ends with 3D models with HD textures. Evoland draws its inspiration from older game series that have been around for ages, such as The Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, as well as Diablo. Most of the game is played in a Zelda-esque style, moving from the Game Boy to Game Boy Color to the 3DS. Whenever you open a chest, there is the Zelda-like opening theme music that plays, and usually the chests contain a new technology, such as pre-rendered backgrounds or free movement. After you get these technologies, your game will be upgraded, and these new technologies are applied, usually meaning that you can solve a puzzle. Other chests have stars in them to collect because it is always stars, and cards for your obligatory card game that it seems to be present in all games these days. Between the Zelda-y dungeons, there is a Final Fantasy overworld, where you have random encounters that are played out just like they do in the early Final Fantasy games, and evolves into the 3D combat system seen in Final Fantasy IV, but doesn't really progress past from there. There is also a Diablo-style dungeon where the game turns into a brawler, where I was smashing my spacebar so much it started giving me dirty looks. This particular dungeon gives you a health bar instead of the Zelda hearts, as well as an inventory to fill up with all the loot. The loot in question is pretty useless, as it gives stats like +3 to a feeling of adventure and +20% fire resistance when standing in water. The dungeon ends in a Andariel-style boss fight, and gives you a town portal to get back exactly like it does in Diablo. This was really funny and I enjoyed the change of combat, but for some reason the game returns to the Zelda-style combat for the rest of the game, and I was a little bit disappointed in the step backwards. My favourite dungeon is where you move between the old 2D Zelda and the new 3D one to solve the puzzles, using an Ocarina of Time style time travel mechanic. The mechanic works really well, and the puzzles were interesting. I wouldn't say that the puzzles in the majority of the game are hard. They were actually quite easy, and I think this is because of the changing nature of the game. Most of the puzzles were solved by simply finding a chest with the next tech in it. And I think that's why I enjoyed this part more, because it needed a little bit more thought, although it was still pretty easy. I didn't have any problems playing the game, but I couldn't get my controller to work, despite Steam telling me that it had support. And it was also very loud. I had my volume at 25, which is fine for most games, but in Evoland it was deafening. I ended up playing it at 5 volume. The game is a little bit short for the asking price as well, but these are minor gripes. I'm not going to talk much about the story, as there isn't much to talk about, and I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a little bit shit. There's very little character building, which I suppose is the standard back then, because putting in a few text boxes would have shaved off a few extra levels, but the story is an important element in games for me, and it's what pulls me through the most frustrating parts of the game. The most frustrating part of this game was the end boss fight, where you engage a big boss in a God of War style attack the massive thing's hands until he gets upset by these hurt hands and goes home. Also, there's not a lot of feedback in this part of the game. I wish the boss had a health bar so I know how much damage I was doing, or if I was doing any damage at all, because I wasn't quite sure. In the end, I thought to myself, is it worth pulling my hair out to finish this game? No, the story's shit, so what's the point? And I had enough to do my review. So that's what I did. I wrote my review instead of finishing the game. I'll probably go back and have another crack at it, but for now, I would recommend Evoland on sale. It's not bad for a game that, according to the Evoland wiki, only had 30 hours put into it. Imagine what they could have done if they put more time into it than the average person's working week. The game is fun and I enjoy the humour, which usually comes from pointing at things and saying, "Ooh, who thought that would be a good idea?" Or looking at the player and saying, "You should know what you're doing, you spod, get on with it." I would recommend this to gamers who like Zelda and who are looking for a little bit of nostalgia without the difficulty, but not at $10. It's an interesting concept and I can't wait to play the next one. I would love to see this concept pushed further out, to include moral choices, maybe isometric turn-based RPGs, and third-person RPGs like Fallout. The possibilities are endless. You could see a game which is just all the games smashed together. It would be a mess, but it would be a fun mess. This has been Val reviewing Evoland for Hihu. If you like this review, please give us a like, and subscribe for more. We have a Steam Creators page, so go and join that too. And thanks for watching. Well now, Game Dev Tycoon is a business sim centered around making games. I first heard about the game.
The comedic timing is perfect, and the script overall is just spot on. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm incredibly biased towards Mass Effect, from the relay tattoo on my arm to